Edit this out, okay? 3D Gloop. I put that Gloop on everything. Stay tuned. All right, I'm at MRRF 2019 and I've got 3D Gloop here, and he's gonna tell us a little bit about what they got going on. And I'm not selling the stuff, but I use the stuff, and I'm just gonna say from the start, it works, period. So he's gonna tell us why it works.
Awesome.
How we doing?
Good, thank you. So
you are?
Andrew.
Andrew. He's Andrew too?
Yeah.
It's Andrew and Andrew. It's like two mad scientists just creating this stuff in the basement from what you've said, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. You got it.
So where are you guys from?
St. Louis.
St. Louis. And you guys created this in your basement for a challenge? I mean, kind of give me an idea as to how this whole thing got started.
So 3D Gloop started just out of personal use. We wanted to make something that actually worked for a bed adhesive and then for ABS actually, and we wanted to make something that worked as a part adhesive for PLA for personal use. We ended up coming up with our early formulation for 3D Gloop, and then we realized just how much it could do, and we're like, you know, the community could really benefit from something like this. So we launched a Kickstarter about 9 months ago at MRRF, and said, hey, you know, let's just see if people are interested in this or not, and if it's going to help them.
And the response has been?
Overwhelmingly positive.
Astronomical, all right? So the chair that I was sitting on is actually a chair that was printed as a project by Jim Carter, and he contacted you guys and you worked together. And this is a new formula that, so you have ABS, you have PLA, and then the PET, not PETG, but PET formula. I know that it was kind of beta at first, right? Is it kind of tweaked to the point where you're happy with it?
Yeah, we just finished our beta test with it. We got our feedback from our beta testers who purchased it. We're incorporating what they wanted to see changed in the final formula before we release it.
And you also got another product with your partner over there in the corner that you're doing a little Kickstarter. We're gonna cover that here in a little bit. But so anything else you want to throw in before we go over to the Kickstarter?
Sure, I can just give a little rundown about what the product is for everybody.
Absolutely.
If you haven't heard of it, 3D Gloop, it's a multi-use 3D printing adhesive. You can use it to glue your prints together. You can use it to smooth out layer lines on prints. Now that does take a little bit of work, but it's much easier than typical post-processing. And you can also, so you can use it to glue your prints together. It also works great as a bed adhesive. We have another product specifically called Gloop, which is only for gluing prints together, but if you're trying to work with this stuff, it can be kind of runny, and it's a much thicker formulation. We have a thickening agent in there. So if you've got fine detail, if you work with miniatures, or like you've got bad support material or something, you can use this on there, and it works tremendously well. It's much easier to work with.
More like a super glue applicator, and I've already got the chance to mess with it, and the consistency is quite nice, I gotta say.
Thank you.
All right, and then you got your Andrew. Who's number one? Who's number two? Who's the older one?
Who's the older one? He's the older one.
Okay, so who amongst you is the boss?
The boss? We don't have a boss.
That's great. That's what I want to hear. So Andrew's going to take us over to the booth, and we're going to talk about another little Kickstarter project they're got going on, and it's what are we calling it?
Glooped.
Glooped.
Andrew will take over.
Andrew, thank you, Andrew. Awesome. Hi, Andrew.
How's it going?
It's great. How are you?
I'm doing well.
So what do we got here in this little booth of yours?
Yeah, so this is our spray booth. It's a demo for our new product called Glooped. It's basically spray paint 2.0. We like to say it's the best spray paint in the world, period. You know, it's awesome. Like we can't get enough of using it, and we think that everyone is gonna love it once they see what it can do. So when we launched our Kickstarter 9 months ago, one of the big things that everyone wanted to see was an ability to smooth out the layer lines in 3D prints. And we promised something that, hey, if we reach this stretch goal, we're going to be able to produce a spray version of 3D Gloop, right? Unfortunately, we didn't hit that stretch goal, and it was probably for the best, because it allowed us to go back and kind of reformulate and rethink and regroup as a team and figure out what really, you know, we could make to impact this community and even broader than this community, right? So we came up with what we like to call Spray Paint 2.0, and it's kind of the best thing ever. So you can use Glooped on pretty much any material. wood, cardboard, plastic, glass, ceramic. What makes it so special, though, is that it can be used on 3D prints, and it smooths out the layer lines like nothing else. Currently, most people, they print with, what, PLA, PETG, right? Those plastics are very hard to smooth. In the current way of doing things, sand it, filler primer, sand, filler primer, maybe some paint, some more sanding, right? Maybe some polishing. It's a lot of work. It's labor intensive, and it's just frustrating, right? So we wanted to create a different way of doing that. What if we could create a spray that we spray on and it literally smooths the layers right before your eyes? And I think we did that. And I can give you guys a demo if you'd like to see it.
I would absolutely love that demo, but I do have a couple questions about it.
Sure.
Obviously, it's still on a Kickstarter, which I'll put a link in the description where they can get onto the Kickstarter and everything. Are we gonna offer it in different colors?
Yeah, so Gloop comes in right now 3 colors. It comes in white, black, and our Gloop color purple. We have a clear version as well. Now, on the Kickstarter, we also have 3 colors kind of reserved. 2 of them are sponsorship colors. So people who are like really involved in this campaign that want to see a specific color, you know, they can come and back that at that reward tier. And the cool thing is they'll get naming rights to that color, and we're going to put their name on every single can we produce.
Inside the Mind of Matt Red.
Ooh.
All right, well, let's get the camera a little closer and you can give us a little demonstration as to what you got going in here.
Great. Alrighty, so what we have here is just a standard PLA 3D print. This is 0.2 millimeter layers. All right, pretty simple. Now we have our Gloop formula, and right now we have it in airbrush because making aerosol cans in small volumes is really hard and incredibly expensive. So this formula is basically the formula we're coming to market with. We are still tweaking little bits here and there, but it's basically the same thing. So I'll go ahead and get the airbrush primed. Might take a second. There we go. Alrighty, so it's just as simple as getting in here and spraying. That's a simple, just single coat right there. And you can see most of the layer lines are actually starting to melt away.
They're pretty much gone. So it's a kind of like thermal effect that it kind of, when you're gluing it together, is kind of the same thing going on the outside?
So actually, we actually developed our own polymer.
Time for some science.
All right, most paints, they use these things called resins, and these resins air dry. And most of the time these resins are like acrylic based. Most people have heard of like acrylic spray paint, right? These resins are really thin and watery, and they don't do too great at filling, you know, all of these little layer lines. So we actually, you know, as polymer scientists, developed our own polymer from the ground up to solve this specific problem. And these polymers, they do 2 things. They help smooth out these layer lines so that there's a solvent in here that will wet that PLA or that plastic and actually allow our polymers to chemically fuse to that plastic. So now this coating becomes chemically bonded directly to this underlying plastic. Now, as our resin cures, our polymers cure, they do this process called cross-linking. So you can imagine this as each molecule having a bunch of like hands, and they like to grab onto things as they start to dry. And that cross-linking creates a really durable coating, and it's almost like a skin effect. So what ends up happening then is as the polymers start to dry, it starts pulling together and smoothing out these layer lines. And so that's how you get this really smooth and awesome coating. Just to show you, here's a couple ones that we just did earlier today. This was, yeah, this is 1 coat. This is 2 coats. And this one's
like smooth.
dry.
Wow.
And you can feel it's pretty hard, you know. And this coating also helps strengthen the 3D prints. So it's not like just normal filler primer and paint, right? This will actually chemically fuse to your prints, and it makes them incredibly strong.
And it's not going to chip.
It's not going to chip. That's the other thing I wanted to show you guys. So Glooped isn't just for 3D prints. All right. As I mentioned before, you can use it on a lot of materials, but I didn't show all of the really cool aspects. Most people have spray painted before, and if you spray paint a piece of metal, what happens if you ding it or you hit it against something? Sometimes that paint chips off. Glooped is completely different. Let's see spray paint do something like this.
And this is a piece of aluminum foil? Actually, that's like aluminum foil. That's a really thick piece of aluminum foil.
Here's a brand new one if you want. We just coated this one. Sprinkle it up. Go ahead, tear it.
Just tear. Very interesting. So with mine, like I mentioned to you when we were talking, my idea is with my casting, I could be able to use this, completely coat the outside, getting a smooth, shiny finish, removing all of those layer lines, make a cast out of that, and
you're exactly
I've
right.
got my post process, as long as I get rid of my porosity, should be great.
Yeah.
But
this one is a really fun demo. This is the one that we started showing first day. You can see how many times that's been crinkled. So if people question its durability, right, or think it's some gimmick, no. People have crinkled this to the point where it's falling apart and the coating is still on there.
the coating is keeping it together.
Yeah, basically. Now, there's one other thing that I didn't mention yet, and that is that Glooped can be oven cured. So this is completely new to air dry spray paints. Nothing exists like this. So Gloop, it's a great spray paint in itself, but say you got a metal part and you want to add abrasion resistance or impact resistance or scratch resistance. You can trade off the flexibility for incredible strength, just sheer strength, by oven curing it. What ends up happening is it creates an incredibly hard surface coat that is really almost impervious to most abrasives and scratches that, you know, normal parts would, you know, see over the course of its lifetime. Now, if you take a sledgehammer or something and hit it, you might break it. But
it is just a piece of plastic.
You know, yeah.
I understand. So, now as far as the cleaning of, at this point you've got an airbrush. Is that going to be something that will be available, or is it going to be eventually once you reach your goal, once they reach their Kickstarter goal?
Yes.
Because you're going to reach it.
Oh,
I honestly believe
it's a pretty high goal.
But is that the intention, is to deliver in an aerosol can?
One day, yes, we would like to be able, well, so yeah, the goal is to deliver in an aerosol can. The reason why is we can control the consistency and the quality to the consumers, right? One thing with 3D Gloop is we strive on the best customer support, the best customer interaction, period. Like we try and be the best at everything, right? And we don't want to release a product prematurely, and we don't want to release a product that has the ability to cause a lot of ambiguity between different applications or different methods and stuff like that. It's like, how do I do this? What do I use? With an airbrush, there's so many different airbrushes out there, so many different settings, so many different resin dryers that go in before your airbrush, so many different conditions you're applying it. It's hard to maintain consistency, and so we're worried that with a consumer base, like, you're not going to get that perfect consistency every time. Some things might not work. Some things might work, in different ways that are unexpected. So one day we hope to release an airbrush version, but we need to work on the chemistry a little bit more. There are some problems with airbrushes because you're using high velocity air to break apart the molecules of the paint. It incorporates a lot of water moisture into things. Even if you have the best resin dryer on your system, it's still going to happen. And what's going to end up happening then is you can get orange peel coats, or the bond isn't the greatest, or it takes forever to dry because you applied too much accidentally, that sort of stuff. So one day we hope to, but we would have to have a lot more testing done, and we really need to hit that Kickstarter goal in order to see this happen.
And is it true to understand that you're responsible for all the verbiage in the email correspondence and stuff?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a group effort, but I'm a really big nerd, so I love being a little quirky and whatnot. So. And
I appreciate that with my sense of humor as well. And if you just go and check out their website alone and just read the about and all that, it's hilarious. But. Can we do a little showing of your pull strength here test?
Sure.
Yeah, we got one of these guys available.
Yeah.
So this is two 3D printed PLA parts.
Yep.
Now the other one, they were actually jointed at a flush, but this one's kind of a different joint that you got.
We had a couple different ones. So this is a butt joint. This is the shear joint.
Shear joint.
So each point is only glued in between, and so the forces that are being applied are in shear.
Correct.
So.
And those are.
Yeah.
What would be the proper terminology for this?
Axial, I believe.
Axial. Okay. So this is two. The layer lines are not an issue, and I've seen people doing this, but here we go. Don't kill me now, all right?
All right.
Here we go. It's glued, and if you didn't get to see that this withstood the full Joel, so it just withstood. Maybe we can get it to withstand the full bear, but this is it. That's some strong stuff.
It's very strong.
Anyways, like I said, there's going to be links down in the description as far as where you can get this, how you can get it. Jump on that. I'm actually going to, when I get home, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of Kickstarter. You'll be the first Kickstarter that Inside the Mind of Matt is supported, but this stuff really works, and I hope that everybody gets to put some of this 3D Gloop on their 3D printed parts in the near future. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks.
Now, when it comes to glooping stuff together, I think that this is probably the ultimate project at the event this year, and it's being presented by Mr. Jim Carter, my buddy and friend.
How are you, sir?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
A little tired, but we're good.
Yeah. So you want to tell us a little bit about what you did here for MRRF?
Yeah. So this is it's a 3D printed chair. It's made out of 77 different puzzle pieces. There's a website called bitsandparts.org. And that's where I found the files. They're free to download. Print them out. Takes a lot of supports. I had 3 great sponsors. 3D Gloop is what holds everything together here. They've got a PET formula that they're working on that's not complete yet, but it's complete enough and it worked on mine. So I think that's probably what they'll end up going with in the future. Atomic Filament sponsored half of the filament, and CME CNC, the company here that I printed the Artemis Delta printer, printed the chair on. They supply the other half of the filament. It's heavy as hell, and it holds a whole lot of weight.
Sit down while
Absolutely.
So how many pieces did you say?
77 puzzle pieces, 4 connectors, and 4 leg screws. And the legs are made out of 28mm corn broom handles.
And you had to print them all with supports.
Every piece had to stand up and have supports. It's over 300 hours of printing and only 2 failures.
That's fantastic. What was the layer height?
0.3 on the layer height, 5 walls, 5 top, 5 bottom, 25% infill, sliced on simplified 3D.
Fantastic. Well, if you ever want to have a seat that you can 3D print it and carry it around, and you need to glue it together, what are you going to use, Jim?
3D Gloop, man. There's nothing else that holds PET together or PETG together at all. Super glue falls apart. Anything else I've tried falls apart. Even the 2-part epoxy falls apart.
Awesome. Thanks, Jim.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Awesome. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe if you haven't. Keep on coming back, because there's going to be more Inside the Mind of Matt. Peace.